These are some strengthening exercises for this part of your forearm and elbow. So the job of these muscles is to bring the wrist up and to flip the wrist over. We can do that with bands, weights, or even a bag of stuff you've got around. Use whatever kind of band you've got, whether it's a loop or a flat one, doesn't matter. The key setup for this is going to be setting up our shoulder first and our elbow. So our shoulder is going to go back and down. So think about it coming into your opposite pocket. So that's set up there. Our elbow will be in, and we're going to be having it at 90 degrees there. So if we're using the band, the first thing that we're going to do is set up our shoulder down, elbow in at 90 degrees, and then from there, bringing it up and then down. So 3 seconds up, 3 seconds down. After you've done your sets and reps for that one, then you're going to do flipping it over. This might take a little bit longer. So instead of 3 seconds, you might do 4 to 6 seconds. So slowly flipping it over to one side and then back over. To make it harder with the band, step on it further up. To make it easier, step on it further down. So you've got more slack in your band. Again, if you want to make it even harder, if you've stepped on it quite short and it's still not giving you enough tension that you're feeling that you're getting enough muscle activation in through there, just go slower with your exercises or add more reps and sets. If we're using a weight, what we can do is set up our shoulder, have the elbow in. With the weight, grabbing it facing palm down, bend the wrist first and then slowly bringing it up. Again, 3 seconds up and then 3 seconds down. When you've done your sets and reps for this, then we're going to do flipping it over. So set up the shoulder, set up the elbow, and then from wrist facing down, turn it over. You might take a little bit longer to do this. So 4 to 6 seconds to flip over. If you're using a dumbbell, you can make it a bit harder by grabbing the end of the dumbbell, because that just gives you a little bit more leverage, makes it a bit more challenging for those muscles. If you don't have bands and you don't have weights, you can use a bag. So with the bag, same thing, set up, shoulder down and back, elbow in, grab your bag, start from that bent wrist position, and then 3 seconds up, and then 3 seconds down. Add weight to the bag so that it feels relatively challenging for you. Then after you've done those exercises for your sets and reps, we're going to be flipping it over. So from there, wrist in neutral, palm facing down, and then twist until palm facing up. And so this might be a little bit slower than 3 seconds. You might do it for 4 to 6 seconds. If you're finding it challenging to set up your shoulder and your elbow and keep that position for your sets and reps, and you're not in a gym, you can use a chair to set yourself up so that all the movement's coming just from the wrist. So with your chair, if it's got anything coming up that's going to dig into your wrist, chuck a pillow or something on top of it. So we're just going to have our elbow resting on that chair. We can have the band underneath the chair if we've got a band. We're going to grab that band at a relatively hard tension for us, and we're going to start in that bent wrist position. From there, we're going to bring that up slowly, 3 seconds up, and then 3 seconds down. Once we've done our sets and reps for that, we can also do the other movement from these muscles, which is flipping it over. So wrist in neutral here, flip the band over. You might slow this even more down, again that 4 to 6 seconds. So when we're using the weight in this position, just leaning on our elbow there, starting with the wrist bent, and then we're slowly bringing that weight up, 3 seconds up, and then 3 seconds down. When we've done our sets and reps of that exercise, we can flip it over. So wrist in neutral for the other exercise, starting with hand facing down, slowly flipping over, so anywhere from 3 to 6 seconds there, and then flipping back down. You can make this harder if you have a dumbbell by grabbing it at the end and then flipping it over there. This is much harder to do with a kettlebell. You'll find the kettlebells will be relatively easy in this position, But to flip, you might have to grab it just on the side. So from there, palm facing down, wrist in neutral, and then flipping it over. Just because of the weight distribution, that can be quite challenging. You can even make it harder, again, by flipping it into this position. So the start position here will be heavier with the weight out on this position, and then through the mid-range, quite difficult until you flip it over. Probably most difficult to hold it in this position. You'll figure it out. Find what works for you. If you're using your bag in this position, it might just still be on the floor while you're doing your range of movement. So just grab it a bit lower, however you can. So leaning on the elbow there, slowly bring it up 3 seconds, and then down 3 seconds. Once you've done your reps for that, we're gonna flip it over. So grabbing your bag, and then flipping it over. Making sure your wrist is in neutral during this. Hand starts facing down. Slowly, 3 to 6 seconds, flipping it over until the hand is facing up. And then back down. In terms of sets and reps, depends what you're going for, whether it's strength or endurance. When we're doing strength, we're doing maybe about 8 reps, much harder. So either higher weights or more tension on the band. We're going to do 3 sets with about a minute rest in between. If we're going for more endurance, we're going to be going more for a little bit lighter loads or lighter tension on that band. We're going to do 15 reps, and we're going to do that 3 times again with that 1 to 2 minute rest in between. So when you're doing these exercises, it should be somewhere from 6 to 8 out of 10 difficult for you. So figure that out. If you've maxed out on how tight you can make your band or the weights that you're using, you don't have heavier, just slow down the movements even more or do more reps. That's another way that you can make it more intense for yourself.